We've already seen 2 Ultraman games on the Disk System, and here's the third and final one. However, Ultraman Club is also the most significant of them. Those first 2 games existed off on their own, but Ultraman Club launched a franchise. There are 6 distinct Ultraman Club games, and the concept's been revisited under other titles later on. I've actually already talked about 4 of these games. They were Famicom cartridges, and one Daytech cartridge that I'm not going to get into here. This is the point where the series starts, though. The game has a subtitle, Shikyu Dakan Saksen, or Operation Take Back the Earth. That hints at the game's plot. Alien monsters have taken over the world and captured all of the Ultra Brothers. Only Ultraman remains free to stop them. Of course, Ultraman is the long-running science fiction franchise about spandex-wearing space cops that grow to giant size and wrestle monsters into submission. Ultraman Club is styled as an RPG, and I say styled because it has one of the most confusing RPG systems that you'll ever encounter. And you start running into critical decisions as soon as you hit the start button. When you begin, you're presented with this menu of 5 locations. No context, just 5 locations. And which one you choose will determine how you play the game. Basically, each region is essentially a mini RPG. It'll take you about an hour of play to clear them, and within each region is one Ultra Brother, one of Ultraman's compatriots. The first 2 Ultra Brothers that you rescue will join your party. The rest of them just thank you for rescuing them. 3 of the Ultra Brothers are identical. The other 2 have special abilities, and one of them breaks the game. Now fortunately, you're not locked in as soon as you select the menu option. That happens when you rescue the brother. Instead, you can go back to headquarters, which is where you start every quest, press the start button there, which doesn't do anything on any other square of the map, and then choose to save. Once you're done saving, then you go back to the area selection. As you're walking around, you'll have random encounters. A lot of random encounters. I mean a lot of random encounters. It's not uncommon to have a random encounter after you take a single step. Anytime I could take more than 5 steps without getting into a fight, I considered it making major progress. Combat is its own weird thing. When you get into a battle, you have the option to fight, use an item, talk, or run away. Talking is only used in particular circumstances, but they're very important circumstances. If you choose to fight, then you have the options of chop, kick, and 2 special attacks. You can see your stats at the bottom, and those are your maximum energy, your current energy, your attack power, and your speed. Doing any attack other than chop uses up some of your current power, and getting hit uses up some of your current power. Chop is pretty much worthless as an attack, so you'll always be spending power in order to do damage. And since the most effective way to not take any more damage is to kill your opponent very quickly, you pretty much only want to use these special attacks. After you choose to attack, you choose where you're targeting. Every enemy has a weak spot where if you hit it, they'll take extra damage. And you'll know that you're hitting the correct spot because a little bandage appears when you target it. However, these spots aren't always as clear as you might like, so even though you might know to hit this guy in the stomach, you still might not hit the correct spot on his stomach. Recovering energy is performed 2 ways. First, you can find the person on the map that will heal you back to full. There's always one hidden somewhere. Unfortunately, they're usually hidden at the beginning of the map, so backtracking is not really helpful. The other way is to use an item, and there are no shops in Ultraman, no treasure chests, so you have to rely on getting healing items dropped by enemies. Most of the characters' special attacks are just damage. There's effectively no difference between them. However, Ultraman Taro has an ability to freeze enemies in place, and Ultraman Ace, well, one of his special attacks prevents all damage that round. Now, the quote-unquote downside of this is that enemies won't drop anything when you use this ability, but the only thing you want from them is healing, and you need a lot less healing when you use this ability. So going to the Ice World first in order to get Ace basically breaks the game. You don't get experience or levels in Ultraman Club. Instead, you power up by completing a quest. One of the monsters that you encounter in the world is someone you can talk to. They'll always be in the same place, but they'll look exactly the same as other monsters that you regularly encounter. They'll ask you to do something like kill a particular monster, and if you do that and go back to them, then you'll power up. But how you power up is a little bit confusing. You get attack power for the number of fights that you've won, and you get speed based on the number of times that you've successfully run away. Note that this has to be successfully running away. Your chance of running away depends on your speed, and you'll probably go through 4 or 5 combat rounds of getting beaten up while you try to run away over and over again before you succeed. However, it's still worth it to do this, since high speed means you get your attacks earlier and you take less damage. While you're walking around the overworld, you can hit the A button to bring up a menu, and here your options are to search, use an item, reorder the party, and check out your status. And 3 of those options are pretty much useless. You use the search option exactly once in the game, party order only matters for which commands are entered first, and the status only shows you those 4 stats, so you see them continuously in combat, or even if you choose to use an item or reorder the party. Of course, this wouldn't be an Ultraman Club game without a game-breaking bug. The dialogue telling you how to access the final area is bugged, and so you're really left to figure that one out on your own. At least it's not as bad as the Ultraman Club game that sends you back to the beginning of the game when you go to fight the final boss. This is one of those licensed games that, despite its many obvious faults, is still beloved in Japan. It's got all of your favorite Ultraman characters, and all of the cool monsters. Who needs anything more than that? Well, obviously I do. I like that they experimented with the combat system, but it's interesting for maybe 5 battles before it starts getting annoying. And there's so many random encounters that you'll probably wind up losing track of what you were doing. The leveling system wasn't especially well thought out, and the rest of the game is really minimalist. They don't even scale enemies as you get more powerful, so by the time you reach the 5th region, you're probably outclassing everything. But when you start out, you'll be struggling to clear more than 2 or 3 fights without healing. Ultraman Club is a mess of a game that winds up being way more frustrating than fun. There's just not enough going on here to make it interesting.